The above photo shows the most common keyboard ribbon cable motherboard connection locking tab port. Use your pry tool to gently pull the left and right locking tab outward away from the port. You will now be able to slide the cable out. Keyboards will sometimes have securing screws 2 to 4 at the top and will need to be removed. There are the smaller screws that what you will find on the underside of the laptop. Some laptops will use locking tabs instead of screws, and photo shows the tab, slide tab and down to lock and unlock the keyboard in place. Another way, some manufacturers secure the keyboard by using spring loaded tabs and protrude from the above the keyboard and will extend over the keyboard upper tab. To release the keyboard from this, you will need to apply stick pry tool on a micro size and flat head screwdriver to depress the spring loaded tabs, usually 4 of them, and simultaneously use the secondary pry tool to pull the keyboard upward and away from the spring loaded tab, continuing to release all 4 tabs, then lifting the top of the keyboard upward and away. So I will place the picture in the below. Hopefully you will know how to remove the hinge covers, media panel and keyboard from the laptop. You need to pay attention here. When removing the media strip about the keyboard, you must be careful not to pull any cables in the process. I will give you an example. The HP DB6000 laptop's media strip has 2 fragile black ribbons cable attached to it and a fragile speaker plug wire. This need to be disconnected before you can remove the part, and if you pull the aggressively you will damage the cables. With these parts removed, you will first look at for any screws in the empty keyboard bay on the palm rest. There are typically 1 to 6 screws here. Also look everywhere else on the upper half of the screws and remove all. The screen will get removed as well as you will unplug all wires and cables coming out from the screen. This will include the display cable, the Wi-Fi antenna wires, the webcam cable, microphone cable and any other that might be there. The Wi-Fi cable also will be placed in the track along with the upper palm rest and will be untrack this and pull the ends through from the bottom side. Unscrew the display hinges to release the screen from the lower half of the laptop and it should now pull away freely. Note that some laptops will attach the display cable differently. The most common type of the cable plug is one that pulls straight upward to release the cable. Yet other types will need to pry it outward from their casting port. You will need to determine yours and slowly unplug the cable. If it gives an resistance, you should double check to ensure that you are removing it correctly. The one that pull outward will always have a pulling plastic tab attached to them and help you easily pull it apart. With the screen hopefully removed now, you will again look over the entire palm rest for any remaining screws. Let me also say there the models such as like HP DB6000, you will have to remove the 2 razor screws that are located on the bottom side and exactly next to the wireless card port. This needs to be removed before the palm rest can be removed. So look for the strangely placed screw location on both the bottom and top before removing the palm rest. The palm rest have a data ribbon cable that attached to itself and leads to the motherboard. I usually directly in the middle on the palm rest, though some models like the ordered Dells will run the cable to the left side and then it plugs into the motherboard using a plug socket connection. The typical touchpad ribbon cable connection port will be the slide locking tab type and you will gently slide both left and right sides of the locking tab upward to release the cable. Right, look around the exposed areas of the palm rest and carefully unplug any cables that you can see. Also untrack any remaining cables or wires away from the palm rest. You should now be ready to remove the palm rest from the lower base. Most of palm rest will be snapped down into the base, and to remove the palm rest you will need to unsnap all the tabs. Due to this, you will use a guitar pick or similar plastic pry tool starting at a corner and making your way around the entire palm rest to unsnap all the locking tabs. You should now be able to pull the palm rest away from the bottom base of the laptop. You will be left with the base and motherboard. Some Sony Vaio and Toshiba laptops have reversed this process, and you will be removing the bottom base first, as the motherboard is attached to the palm rest. You should now have to have the bottom base and motherboard left over the disassemble, or to opposite, or you have to palm rest and motherboard left. This process will be the same for either, so I will just refer to the bottom base motherboard, and you can use it in the same fashion to remove the motherboard from the palm rest. Now within the bottom base in front of you, you will disconnect any remaining wires or cables that hinder the removal of the motherboard. You can remove any screws securing the motherboard to the base. The screws will usually be marked on the motherboard with either a number or a symbol. If not, you can use a marker to draw a X cover over the hole to remind yourself that it needs to have a sequence screw upon reassembly of the laptop. Some laptops will have mini boards or daughter boards attached to them that will also need to be removed to detach from the motherboard to complete the removal process. Once you think that you have removed all the remaining screws, you can attempt to remove the motherboard from the board. Start the process by slightly lifting up a given corner. I will usually start near the area opposite from the onboard headphone jack port on the volume knob. I pull upward slightly, then upward, making sure to pull any components like the audio outputs or the VGA or printer port away from the case cell as not to damage any parts when removing and the motherboard. A lot of motherboards will have cables, plugs and wires still attached there when removing the motherboard. Take for instance once again HP DB 600 6000. It has a DC jack and a Ethernet audio port board cable plugs and that plug into the underside of the motherboard, though they are only accessible when you raise the motherboard up to expose them. Be careful here, as you can damage the ports on plugs by pulling too far on motherboard. Also on the example model DB6000 on the front of motherboard, in the center area just under the bottom middle area is where you will find two more cables and plugs, that is IR audio and Wi-Fi switches, and boards connected to the underside of the board, and the wires cables used do not leave room for error. If I pull too far, they will break. So go slow and triple check it all areas of the top, underside and motherboard before completely removing the motherboard from the base. The motherboard should lift right out. If it does not, do not panic here. Simply go through the top and bottom again and pinpoint the location that is stuck in the and locate the retaining view. You will be able to determine where the location is that is keeping the motherboard, and from removing just by lifting on the laptop and finding the area that is still stuck to the base. Finally, remove the motherboard and set aside. You are done with the removal, and you can remove the fan and heatsink assembly. Now it's still attached. So we will discuss the laptop screen disassembly instruction in the next chapter, chapter 5. So thank you for the listening. Tata.